It's Thursday, it's September 14th, 2023. Um, just health update. I went to the hematologist, but she's an oncologist as well. And as far as ferrous levels go of iron, um, she said I was at a like 20 is normal just to gain a scale. 20 is normal. I'm down to a 2 again. Again, erythrocyte and blood volume is fine, so I don't need transfusion. But what's stealing or robbing the iron from my blood and like hemoglobin, that is something that has not been discovered yet. So I have to go in for this treatment in order to boost my iron levels. I know I've been watching some of the like news and sequencing the events of what's going on in my environment, like almost toxicity of biochemicals, and then watching what's going on in the city around me. Yesterday, I spoke of my jacket here. I don't think you can see quite as much, but if I put it against, yeah, you can see the color difference. The jacket is supposed to have a black hue to it, or a black pallor. I was caught out in the rain, and then all of a sudden, within 24 hours, there was this chemical reaction that happened where it turned almost like a dark plum. Like there was something that reacted to the material, and it changed colors. Again, like, I don't know if this is covered under like acid rain to document it on my own behalf with whatever's going on with, inside the blood, and then having trouble with this weird, specific to relative gravity. They call it cellulite. Again, it's perhaps part of it, but it has something to do with cellular and chemical transport within the electrolyte metabolite. And then with outside gravitational forces, pushing on the body and moving cells. I put it up the other day under muon, and neutrino, I think, is the trendy words that the like NASA scientists use. I found it online, but again, I don't know. Like, nobody in physical contact has ever alerted me what any of these things are while I'm here stuck in this sunlight. So while I have that health update this morning, and I'm having a really hard time, like, with energy levels, with oxygenation for obvious reasons, and with mobility, it's almost like in the myomere or the sarcomere, if in a striated muscle on like a length or strand of it, if one, say there's 5 cells in a row, if one cell is extremely swollen, it's causing the muscle to move in an altered fashion than the other 4 cells. And there seems to be some kind of transport blockage in that cell, causing almost like a swelling, and so again, I'm not sure if it's partially lymphatic. I don't know if it's connective tissue related. Again, that has a whole histology on its own, but it's of concern. And then there's sociologic and sociopathic things that I'm concerned about. That, again, I have no voice communications coming in other than what's on the television, so I'm just trying to sample the pieces of while I'm going through these physical changes, and dealing with what's locally available to my person. Again, may I say this? It's a monetary system. There's a monastery. There's prosperity, there's posterity, there's church, there's orientation, there's whatever. I mean, these are important things. And the category is United States of America and Federal Reserve note for the children, and it is on file with the U.S. Treasury. These are important things. While I'm going through this, and it's almost like leading into my season, my person was somehow distorted. And again, I don't know how they warp it. I don't know how they warehouse it. I don't know how that works. I mean, again, at HCGH, what they were keeping an eye on, an EYEON at ION and Space Force and now SpaceX, and then there's NASA, and then I don't know what everybody else's programs are. But leading into the season of children and the timing of the calcaneus calculus, and then, like, again, needing changes made after mistakes were made. And what level to bring that to, I don't know. But I'm at an HCGH and an AIGH within an AI leading into a B. So these are important things in the field and in other areas. So I'm keeping an eye on this at the moment. They're talking about, for global climate change, something going on with some of the humans in the human scientists or human science category. They are demonstrating and they're upset about corporate executives that have these cushy corporate jobs. And, like, again, I don't have a job. I wasn't given that level of participation within human, not where the money mechanics actually worked. But there's people who have access to this level of labor at office jobs, and then it goes into, like, the whole cycle of however it's created and then however it's distributed. It's a tiny fractal of a larger conversation.
As all this was happening this morning and as arrests were being made, as you mentioned, about 24 of them, the activists blocking Citibank employees from getting into their workplace first thing this morning. The video is pretty dramatic, and much more so from the ground. As you can see, they're trying to draw attention to corporates' irresponsibility, they say. Banks that are funding fossil fuels at a time when the planet is in crisis. The NYPD just a short time ago confirming that 24 arrests were made. The protesters expected to be charged with disorderly conduct and then released.
Hundreds of people descended on Citibank's global headquarters to shut it down, and we shut it down. We've tried for years to get Citibank to listen to us to stop financing new fossil fuels, but they have refused to listen. So now it's a climate emergency, and in line with the science, they have got to stop financing large new oil, coal, and gas projects.
Again, 24 arrests here this morning, and this is actually the second straight day of climate protests in Manhattan. Yesterday, the target was BlackRock, and that protest led to 5 arrests in Midtown. All of this not happening by coincidence, Lauren and David. It's happening as the United Nations prepares for a climate change conference scheduled to happen next week. Live in Tribeca, Tom Neckett and Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
All right, Tom, thank you so much. And new at noon, a plea deal for a former young...
It's saying I still haven't figured out what this is, but a General's Assembly security in the United Nations going on. They're broadcasting it on Channel 7. So that's going on this week. Again, I don't really know how all of that's put together. not things that in the series of rooms that I've been, again, it's almost like communications has gone completely down. I don't know why, within my life frame and going into having children. I mentioned something this morning about, and then there's this word authorities, but it has the word author in front of the I ties. And so that's one of those crucial or critical words.
Get ready for gridlock. The world's top leaders will be in New York City next week for the United Nations General Assembly. And starting on Monday, hundreds of police officers and traffic agents will be at intersections stretching from 34th to 65th Streets and from 1st Avenue to 7th Avenue in Midtown. Dedicated lanes will also be set up on 57th and 42nd Streets from 5th Avenue to 1st Avenue, as well as on 57th and to 41st Street along 2nd Avenue. NYPD Commissioner Edward Caban is urging people to take mass transit. He says police are on alert and will ensure that things go smoothly.
We monitor events around the world. We take everything into consideration. Their job is to discuss the future of our world, and our job is to make sure they can do it without disruption.
151 heads of state will be at the UN General Assembly, including President Biden. That is the most since 2015. The NYPD says there are no specific or credible threats.
As a growing number of migrants continue to seek shelter in...
I personally think that this migrant crisis, whatever, but again, like, on this fiction of Space Force, they have this Mars capsule, and I'm like, if I have to, with the health for the monastery, in the health deterioration that I'm experiencing, and then section out Mars capsule and time capsule for sequence of events for the monastery or for the monetary for the United States of America that I'm currently in. That's what my journal is so far. And it's with this at the moment. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza, it's Earth, Solar System, Milky Way, Universe, Galaxy is broken, and it's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361.